Hello everyone and welcome to today's lesson. Teacher Kelvin here. Today I'll talk about common mathematics mistakes with short examples and clear explanations. So welcome once again. Thank you. The first mistake students commonly do is leaving answers in unsimplified form. Example, you have 3a over 2 times 4a over 3 left unchanged. So correct answer simplify is 2a squared. 2a squared, whereby when you multiply 3 will cancel out with 3. Then 4a times a, you get 4a squared over 2. Then when you divide, you get 2a squared. Another example is that you calculate, then the final answer you get an improper fraction like 3 over 2. Then you leave your answer as 3 over 2. That is wrong. You'll miss 1 mark when we are marking. So the correct answer should be either you give that answer as 1.5, 1.5, or 1.5. Not following instructions. Example, use pi 22 over 7, but candidate uses either 3.142. Ignoring the instruction leads to loss of marks. So it's good you follow instructions to the latter. Number 3, poor approximation. Poor approximation, or we can say immature approximation, or sometimes we say premature approximation. So my advice to students is that always work with a minimum of 4 significant figures. Always work with a minimum of 4 significant figures. Then if the question, the instruction in the question is asking the student to give the answer in maybe 2 decimal places or 3 significant figures, then the last answer, final answer, is where you'll round off to whatever is given as the instruction. But always work with a minimum of 4 significant figures. Don't round early. That one will lead to missing of what? Final answer mark. Another mistake commonly done by students is using wrong SI units. Example, writing 5 kilometers as 5 meters. That is wrong. So that means the final mark, you miss a mark there. And remember, you're supposed to be keen, avoid losing out unnecessary marks. Is that okay? Then another thing, what is my advice is that you need to do what? Leave your answer without the units. In mathematics, we don't mark units, but the only places where we need units is in, let's say, the time of the day. You are getting 9 p.m., 9 a.m., something like that. And also in longitudes and latitudes where you are giving the location of a point, maybe it's 20 degrees north and 45 degrees maybe west. That's where we normally mark the units. But other parts, if you are not sure of the units to use, kindly leave your answer without units. Mixing up significant figures and decimal places. Example, you asked, the question is asking the student to give the final answer in 3 significant figures. Then the student gives the answer in 3 decimal places, which are not the same. So student, you must be keen and follow the instruction correctly. Mistake number 6, incorrect expansion or factorization. So also here students must be keen when they're expanding or factorizing. If you like this example, you have a plus b squared. Some students do take a, then they square it and get a squared. Then they take b, they square it and get b squared. That's wrong. The correct answer should be, remember you need to show your working. So you'll take a plus b into bracket times another a plus b into bracket. Then the first term in the first bracket times everything in the second bracket. Then the second term in the first bracket times everything in the second bracket. Then you open, you collect the like terms, then you'll end up getting a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So if you do using the first example, that if you expand using this first example, that is wrong. So you have to be keen when you are expanding or factorizing. A common mistake is misreading the question. Example, finding perimeter instead of area. Explanation is that students rush and skip keywords, so don't omit, follow the instructions. If the question is asking you to get the perimeter, kindly do the perimeter. If you end up doing the area, then that means you'll end up missing all the marks. Mistake number 8, using inaccurate instruments. Example, drawing a triangle with a broken protractor. That will lead to wrong measurements of what? Angles, if you are to measure the angles, or using a compass which is what? Faulty, then you end up missing the arcs. So kindly ensure before you sit for any exam, mathematics exam paper, make sure you have all the instruments and they are not faulty. Another mistake, wrong scale in graphs, wrong use of scales in graphs. Example, unequal axis intervals. This one happens mostly in transformation questions. In transformations, the y-axis, the scale you used, must be equal to the scale on x-axis. So you have to be keen. Just know that in transformation, the scale you use on x-axis must be the same scale as the one used in y-axis. Another mistake, omitting work steps. You need to show your work, all the steps. If you omit any step, then that means you'll miss some marks or even all the marks. So you have to be keen. When you're working, the method is the most important thing. You can miss the final mark, answer mark, but you can get the marks for methods. But if you omit the methods and you have the correct answer, then that means it will lead to lose of all the marks. So you have to be keen, show all the steps required in that question. Another common mistake, mixing up positive and negative signs. Example, you have -3 times -4. Negative times negative gives you positive. Then you end up giving the answer as -12. That is wrong. You'll miss a mark for the final answer. The correct answer should be +12. But in maths, if you are getting a positive, no need of indicating that +12. So error in the multiplication leads you to get what? A different sign, which is the correct. Then that means you'll end up missing 1 mark in the final answer. Another one, confusing area and volume units. Example, centimeter squared and centimeter cubic. So centimeter squared is for area, centimeter cubic is for the volume. So you have to be careful when you are giving the units. But remember, we said if you don't know the units, kindly don't indicate them there, because once you indicate wrong units, even if the answer is correct, you'll end up missing the final answer mark. Testing scalars in vectors, that is another mistake students should avoid. You need to test scalars for all the vectors, the x, the y, and if we have the z axis, you must show all the testing for the x and for the ijk or ij if there are only two. Probability fractions. Examples: simplifying branches too early. That's wrong. Keep fractions until the final multiplication. The final answer is where you can simplify, but remember, in probability we normally allow unsimplified answers or simplified one, the final answer. So if you leave your answer, the final answer, in unsimplified form, still we will mark it correct. If you simplify it, we will mark it correct, but avoid simplifying at the early stage on the branches. You simplify the fractions. Misclassifying data types, that is another mistake. Saying age is discrete, so you classify it as what? Continuous. That's wrong. Real life context matters, and so on. Another mistake, committing wrong final answer. Let's say you are working, then you get the final answer as 12, then you underline or you circle it, or you write in front of it answer. That's wrong. Don't commit your answer, so that if you are marking and that final answer is not correct, we will just mark up to where the correct answer is, then we just omit the final answer for which you are getting. But if you underline, then that means we will end up marking your answer.